Welcome, my beautiful humans, to the Pan Talk podcast. I'm Joe Metzger, and this is the podcast for our pansexual, panromantic, and pangender lovies. I'll be having discussions with my co-host Anil and Joe, as well as interviewing my guests to learn more about their journey, and we'll talking about anything and everything in the queerverse. And if you don't identify as queer, don't worry, we want you here too. Please remember that this podcast is for those 18 and older, and some of the topics may be controversial. Trigger warnings will be in the description. Listener discretion is always advised. If you want to be a guest on Pan Talk, you can email us at pantalkpod@gmail.com. Without further ado, let's get queer. Welcome to the Pan Talk podcast, where the pancakes are always gluten-free. This is Joe Metzger, that's me, and this is my host, Anil and
Yes.
And today we're going to talk about our journey, our relationship in the pansexual, queer, homosexuals, and kind of how we met, and you know, and where we've come since then, how far we've come.
A long way, yeah. So I think just to jump off from, you know, our coming out story. Of course, you come out, and then what's next? You know, you're looking for something. You're looking for a partner. You're looking for somebody to share life with. So let's talk about love,
Yes.
liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah. How American of you.
Exactly. Because we did meet here. So relationship-wise, it's not easy to start off. I think because I think Joe, I always talk to Joe about how the media portrays love as if it's so easy to have. You know, when you watch movies, it's like, oh, you just met at a train station and now we're getting married. You know, and of course, you know, being a gay boy, you don't see that a lot in the media. And I think that's where I want to start off, is seeing those. So, you know, I question myself, when am I ever going to meet a guy at a train station when I don't even know if they're gay or not? You know? So, but you develop this fantasy, and it's so scary. Especially growing up as a child and already having access to shows like Sex and the City, where that is not life. And then these are horrible characters. They're horrible friends, except maybe for Samantha. But everybody else I thought was like a horrible character, and so self-centered. But then that's how you think life should be, and that's where the danger comes from. So before, you know, I talk about our happily finding Joe. Life was, again, very difficult. I don't want to be dramatic about it, but why am I apologizing? I'm not even honest. It's going to be a bit dramatic just because, you know, growing up, again, I was overweight, obese, and then I was really femme and really gay, and I wasn't Catholic. So it was, you know, a sucky environment growing up. What struck me the most, and realizing this only recently, you know, because when you enter a relationship, just to, you know, put that in, you get to know yourself better, and you get to know your partner better, and then you guys try to discover what works for both of you and what works individually.
Right. Because
you can't forget yourself. So I've been learning a lot about myself because of this journey with Joe, and you know, just my journey moving to America and like being alone and, you know, being away from that strong support system I had. So I was revisiting my life as a child and revisiting some traumas because I had issues. I was telling Joe, I had issues with love where I didn't feel like it fit in my story. And this is why. Growing up, you're gay, you're fat, you know, you're broken. I never thought I was going to fall in love. I was always told that, you know, you're too fat, nobody likes you. Nobody will ever have a crush on you because you're fat. And you're like, wow. And that person telling me that is the ugliest mofo I've ever seen in my life. Like, well, your nose. Let's talk about your ears. You know, like, if that's the only reason no one's gonna love me, I have a million reasons why no one's gonna love you. You know? So that's how I felt. But people tell you this to your face. They're like, you're so fat, no one's gonna love you. You're so fat, you probably can't have kids because you're gonna... I was 8. We're talking about kids and like pedos, you know? But that's how effed up it was. So First, it was that fat part. So I was never going to be loved because I was fat. Whatever. And then there was the gay part. Now, in Philippine culture, at that time, I'm not generalizing, I'm not speaking for my whole country. At that time, what was known to the public was that gay people pay men for love. So I thought, okay, so I'm fat. No one's gonna love me because, everybody, I'm not kidding, everybody told me that. Everybody, except for my friends. Everybody told me that. Even my family, especially my family, especially my grandmother. It was a constant, you're not gonna be loved because you're fat. And then the whole fact that I'm gay and the only way gay men ever enjoy love is when they pay for it. So I grew up thinking I'm just gonna have to pay for it for the rest of my life. Then my body hit survival mode. So I had trained myself that love was never gonna be part of the equation. That I was never gonna grow up in love. I was never gonna find love because of that. And then second is the media. When did you ever see anybody that looked like me fall in love? Nobody. Nobody. Somebody that looked like me was always the laughingstock, the clown, the sidekick, the best friend. And moving into Hollywood, that's all the casting I'm getting. I mean, I'm not actively in the business, but people ask me that. Would you want to be the best friend of the leading lady? What? Can't I be the leading lady?
The sassy gay best friend.
It was all these stereotypes. So I was like, why? I want to be the leading lady. I want to fall in love. I want to show people that people who look like me can fall in love. That is such a big role a media plays in that, in discrediting other people who don't look a certain way and degrading them and devaluing them. That's how I grew up, and I'm not the only one. I know so many people up to this day are thinking, am I ever going to find love because of my weight, because of my sexuality? So it was all of those just piled up. The reason I think life was hard was because of it. So I never thought I was going to fall in love. And I never thought I was made to find somebody. I thought I was going to pay for it for the rest of my life. But you know what? Thankfully, that wasn't the case. As Joe knows, in my past, I had so many sexual partners. But this is the thing. This is what I want to share with people. When I started getting sexual partners, because of all the you're so fat, you're so ugly growing up, for a few years, I was having sex with clothes. I don't think I've ever told Joe, because I'm revealing this now in the podcast.
I think you mentioned it once, maybe.
Yeah. I had sex with clothes on because I was so repulsed by how I looked. Because your family tells you every day you're ugly. So at first I started having sex with clothes on. My partners would be like, what are you doing? Why? Let me admire this. And I'm like, don't look at me, Because I really did feel beautiful. And again, like I said, whatever they told me growing up was a big freaking lie. Because I had people who liked me for who I was, who liked me for how I looked, who was willing to love me, even if I was so fat and gay,
Right.
So I had all these issues. And then when you would pay for it, for me, that was like a de-stressor. If I just wanted to get through life, I'll just be like, let me just pay for it because it's a one done and you can do whatever you want. Yeah, but when I was having, my first encounters, that's how insecure I was about who I was, despite my loud, boisterous, gay personality that everybody just, has to see from afar. I was really lonely and sad. Meeting boyfriends, I think I've only dated one serious one anyway before Joe. And he was the kindest person I've ever met in my life. He was the kindest partner I could ever have. But I was broken. I couldn't fully accept his love because I didn't love myself. It's true, you hear it a lot on Drag Race, but it is true. If you don't love yourself, how are you able to share that love with someone? So I'm still struggling with it. Joe knows this because I'm still going through the process that I can be loved. So I have to love myself. So now we're doing that, putting ourselves first, not minding what other people are saying, and sort of just silencing everyone around you. So if you're listening, you're not alone. I went through the same thing and we're working through it. But what I realized and what I learned in this relationship was that everybody is deserving of love and it's everywhere. You have to embrace it. You have to ignore the voices around you who told you that nobody was ever going to love you because there is someone out there. I'm glad I met him. I met somebody I can love and someone who loves and respects me. I just had to put that background in. But Joe and I met online. I loved his profile. He said I'm in a relationship with myself first, and I will always remember that because I would say that's what I need. I need to be in a relationship.
I am my own soulmate. Yeah.
I need to be that first, and it's been great. Like Joe has helped me. We've helped each other grow and get through the journey. But yeah, that's how we met. And the first time I met him, I was like, that's my boyfriend. Like I saw him coming into the coffee shop. We met at a coffee. I was like, okay, that's my boyfriend. Because it's what he said in our previous episode. It was he said, like, you feel it. And then there's this sense of nervousness. So it can't be all fireworks. Because the moment it's all, at least for me, you do you. For me, it can't be all fireworks because that means that's probably just a sexual trigger of some sort. That's a fantasy that's coming to life. For me, there has to be a little nervousness where I'm like, who am I going to land this guy? Is he going to feel the same way about me?
And it gives it weight.
Yeah.
When I was on the date, I definitely gave panic and like, am I doing the right thing? What do I say? What do I do? And so I was so anxious. I was trying to stay in myself, but I was listening to what he was saying. One of the thing that came through for me was like, I really like this guy. He's cool. And then at the end of the date, I'm like, what's going to happen? And he walked into my car.
I did. Cool.
And I was like, okay. He's the coolest.
I'm the coolest.
You are the coolest.
But yeah. So for me, that's my version of our getting to know and our dating. And then from then on, I was just like, I just wanted to be with him. I just enjoyed his company. We were texting a lot. We would text every day.
Huh. But never too much. Because we both had jobs and lives.
Yeah.
It was a good balance.
Yeah. It was through this relationship that I was able to reflect that, oh my God, I grew up being wired. You see, people don't realize this, but you're wiring this child to feel unloved for the rest of his life. And that's what my family did too.
Do you think that being unloved is the norm? That's the same thing that I had too, which it was just like, oh, you're a man, therefore no one will love you because men are bad. And like that was the programming that was for me. So I remember when I first started dating and I got all these responses very quickly, I remember being a little overwhelmed and crying a bit. It's like, oh, people actually like me? Because at that point, when I started dating, I had done the work to love myself. But you still have to have experiences. There's only so much you can do, and sometimes you do need to be alone in order to grow, and you get to a certain point, and you go, it's time for me to grow with somebody else. You don't always know when that point is. Like, the universe has its own plan, I think. But certainly, it was hard showing you what I consider my ugly parts. The parts that's like, this is the flaws, the stuff I'm working on. These are the things I'm not proud of. Get emotional because I was like, I don't want him to see this stuff. Because I'm afraid that if he sees something he doesn't like, he's going to run out the door. And that's abandonment. And then it all comes back to like, I'm not good enough. And that was what I was told over and over again. You're not good enough. So like, I think for me, it was sitting in those feelings of wanting to run away because running away feels safer. Letting whatever happens. And he's there for me. When I'm struggling, he's there for me. And he reflects things back to me that I need to hear about my behavior, my thinking. I go, I'm doing that thing again. Because you're not always aware of it.
Yes.
You need to have it reflected back to you.
And it's just, that's why it's good, because like I wasn't aware that I had issues with love until he was like, I sense some block in you. What's going on?
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, you could sense that. And then, he sensed a lot of other blockages. He's absolutely right. Like, you just have to make sure to reflect back on each other and always check on each other. But yeah, and we don't have any like fancy love stories where we met at this. We don't have the train station.
We didn't meet in gay parade. Remember, every time we'd be like, how did you guys meet? Like, we met on OkCupid. And they're like, oh. Yeah. They're like, all right. Second date for me is where the attraction really exploded, and I'm like, wow, I'm really attracted to him. This is exciting, a little scary, but mostly exciting. And then when we had date 3, I remember you came up and you gave me a kiss. You said, I missed you, and I'm like, oh my God, I missed you too.
I did.
I did. And I'm like, we had a 2-week break between date 2 and 3 because I went on vacation. And it's like, wow, oh, it's already date 3 and I miss him. Like, this is good.
Well, he was gone for 2 weeks. I did
Yeah.
miss him. But I was like,
true.
hey, like,
Where is he?
Like, I want to have lunch. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell are you doing? We didn't have those fancy schmancy train stations, right? Because they don't exist.
Yeah, and I think where we can get caught up in that fantasy, and when it doesn't happen, we get disappointed, and we go, "Wait, this is just some idea that was put in my head by a marketing company or a movie," and that's not what real life is. In fact, all of the lovey, wonderful stuff that everyone talks about that I love is the kissing, the cuddling, sex, making plans for the future is amazing and good. But where I feel the real intimacy is, I'm having a bad day, and I'm not smiley and bright today. I'm depressed today, or I'm sad, or I'm mad, like I'm having one of those days, and he's there for me in that moment. Or I can say, I'm really scared about this thing that's happening, or I'm worried about this thing, we can talk about it. That's where the intimacy really exists. When you're both doing well, and it's fun, and it's convenient, but when on the days where you're not doing well, and how they show up for you, that's what shows you how good a relationship is.
For me, if you're single, and if you're wondering, like, when is my time going to come? I really think it's that understanding, first and foremost, why you're looking for it. Is it because you're just rushing because society tells you you should be married at a certain age, have kids at a certain age? Or, maybe if it doesn't come, it's because you yourself, you're not yet ready. And then those things happen. But I think essentially, also just coming up from a previous episode, it's you have to love yourself. I think that's where it happens. You have to get to know yourself. You have to be in a relationship with yourself first, where you understand boundaries, where you understand your own security, and where you focus on things that matter to you, where you care for yourself, you love yourself, you do self-care exercises. We both were doing that when we met each other. Mm-hmm. That's why it just worked, because there was no fantasy. We met each other, we take it day by day. There's no, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And then, there was no movie behind us meeting.
We loved ourselves and each other for who we are.
Yeah.
You never understand yourself 100%. You're never 100% enlightened. You're never 100% anything. But you get to a point where you understand yourself enough that you're ready for a relationship. And I think a relationship is a relationship you have with someone else is a direct reflection of the relationship you have with yourself. So if you know yourself enough to go, this is what I want in a partner, this is what I'm looking for, I'm going to spend those dates focused on compatibility and being like, this is what I want, this and this and this, how do you feel about this, how do you feel about that? Not interrogating them under a light, but having that come up when it comes up and knowing what is important to you and getting that out. So that if you're on date 3 and they say, I want to move to Paris next month, and you love living in LA, that's probably not going to work. Right? And that way you don't have to go 2, 3, 5 years in a relationship and realize, oh, this was never going to work. Because you ask all the tough questions to begin with. We had all the difficult conversations, and we still have uncomfortable conversations when stuff comes up. But we're comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
We're willing to walk through that because we do the work, because we love each other, and we know that that's part of the process. And, that's real healthy relationship takes work.
And we found each other late in society standards, in our late 30s. People are like, oh, okay, and we were expected to meet each other, I guess, 10 years ago, if we were supposed to follow life society's dictates. Yeah. But we didn't, so that's why I guess we're in this comfortable position, just sharing our story that, we did fall in love later in what society expects from us. But I don't think it's late. I think it's just right. I think I'm also at that place where, yes, I can carry a relationship because I can carry myself.
Exactly.
So it's also that. So if you're single and if you're like, oh, I'm never going to, you're gay, you're bi, you're pan, and you're like, it's never going to happen for you because you are this sexuality. No, it's going to happen for you because of this sexuality, because we don't have the milestones society expects for us to have.
And let's acknowledge that dating, whether you're queer or straight, dating men is hard. It's hard. Dating queer people of any gender is hard. There's a lot more trauma than it. So let's acknowledge that that's difficult. No one's saying you're not working hard. No one's saying that it's easy. But just know that there are good people out there. And if you start to believe there aren't any good people out there, then you're letting like your doubt and your bitterness and that fear control you. At least that was my experience. You see it on dating profiles. Like, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. And I'm like, okay, you've been through a lot. Maybe it's time to take a break. If dating is becoming stressful, it's like bringing you down, then it is time to take a break.
Yes.
You might have fatigue. But it's like, put on the profile what you want, not what you don't want. Make sure they can see your face, good lighting, full body. If you're worried about them judging your body, put a full body picture up there. Like, bitch, this is what I
That's
look
what
like.
I did.
If you don't like it, fuck off.
Now we gotta censor that.
Yeah, he forgot it's an explicit. I said explicit, so we're good.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, but it's true though. I guess that comes from our trauma.
Yes.
But I did that too. Like when I post pictures, because I know some people, my friends, and they would edit their photos. And I'm like, why are you editing? Like, what happens when they see you in person?
Or they start to, I have to make my profile look like this because this is popular.
But that's a reflection of not loving yourself.
Yes. Trust yourself.
Yeah, when you edit your photos because you think you're not good enough. That's ring a ding ding. I hope you made somebody
Nobody
realize
wants to
something.
show up on a date and see someone across from them that doesn't look anything like their pictures. It screams, I'm lying, I'm deceiving you.
Yeah.
And like just my own personal preference. Gentlemen, stop with the fishes. Nobody cares. Ladies, enough with the Disneyland pictures with the foot up. No mouse ears.
No,
I'm kidding.
He's kidding. Yeah,
I'm fucking.
But essentially, it's that. It's like, I guess what we're saying is we learn to love ourselves first, and then this happened. I wasn't even praying or anything for this. I was just like living life. Saw his profile.
I was in a neutral place as well. I'm like, I'm just dating. It's like, get up, go to work, come home, go to a date, go to bed. It's just a part of the routine. It became neutral. It's neither, oh my God, I'm gonna meet, you know, my soulmate, or oh fuck this, I hate it. Right in the middle. Just like, it's just a thing.
Yeah. And I guess that's why I called it love liberty instead of life liberty. I said love, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Because you need love, and you need love for yourself first.
For yourself first.
If you're very mean to yourself, if you're very hard on yourself, it's going to be hard to share love. Because our relationship is not finding a missing piece. It's because there is so much love that you need to share it. It's because you're living in an abundance of love for yourself that you're willing to share it with someone. So it's not a missing piece thing. It is not even a completing thing. It's just sharing.
A different level of growth.
Yeah, it's just sharing your love. So don't ever come to it thinking I'm missing or I'm incomplete. No, you're complete. You have to love yourself for who you are, regardless of what people say. And I think that's what happened with us. And that's why it's smoother. I'm not saying we don't have issues. We do, of course. But
now, neither of us are perfect. The relationship isn't perfect, but we're perfect for each other.
Yeah, and because we can communicate. So because we come from a similar place of love. So I think that's what. So love, you need to love yourself. Liberty, you have the liberty of choice. Do not let anybody tell you otherwise. You have the liberty of choice to choose what you think works best for you. Don't settle.
Never.
Don't settle.
And that's why you make that list of things you want in a partner. I did that. And so I know, not like, he has to have curly hair, he has to be 6'5".
Not like that.
It's important to date when you're attracted to, but you're already going to do that. You know that already. I'm talking about long-term goals. Do they want kids or not? Do you like to hike? Do you like to just sit on the couch and watch TV? Do you like to go to an art museum? Like all of that stuff, like do they like all these things I like? Are they politically, are their core values aligned with mine?
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfectly politically in agreement, but if you both have opposing fundamental values that are so important to you that maybe that's not going to work. So like you go through that list of things and you go through that with your partner, with your potential partner, with your dating partner. So what do you do to start working on yourself? There are a lot of things you can do and only you know what that is for you. But I can share for you my experiences going to therapy and just seeing what is lurking around. Like what are some things I believe about myself that aren't true? Are there things I love to do? Do I love to paint, hike? Do I love to do a podcast? Hey, maybe I need to engage in that hobby, you know? Like, and that's why Anil and I have an open systems relationship is we have interests and friends and stuff outside the relationship that we engage in. So the whole lives aren't just about each other.
Yeah.
We consider each other, we're a priority, but we have friends, we have a job, we have, other things.
Hobbies
that we like to engage in.
But you see, it's funny. It's cute that he's saying that because exactly before you start dating, you have to go on a date with yourself.
Go on self dates.
You have to know what you love. You have to know what you like. You have to set your boundaries. With self love, with your liberty of choice, you can definitely pursue happiness. Because now it's clearer to you what it is.
No one can give you those answers. You have to find your own answers. People can lead you to answers, and they might say something that worked for them, and it happens to work for you. But at the end of the day, it's your life and it's your decision. So by going out and trying things and having experiences, you get to learn about who you are. Oh, I don't like bar crawling, but I love bungee jumping. Try stuff.
I love bar crawling. I hate bungee jumping.
I just went with the bees.
I know, I hate height. But yeah, I think that's what we're trying to say. It's like we started with ourselves first. And we're still working on ourselves.
Always.
Again, it's ever growing.
Daily practice.
Ever learning. No boxes, no ceilings.
No boxes, no ceilings.
Yeah.
And I love you, Push.
And you push. Well, that's it, I guess.
That's all we have to say about that, as Forrest Gump would say.
Yeah.
Keep on keeping on. And again, if you are not in a place where you feel safe, if you're coming out and it's like you have to hide because in order to be safe, there are places like that. We know that. We happen to live in a place where we don't have to hide, but a lot of people don't live in that place, and we recognize our privilege on that. Listen to our podcast. Send us emails. We want to hear your story. Would you like to come on and tell your story? We'd love to interview you. It's more of a chat, an informal chat. We can do it online. We can do it in person. You can be on camera with a face and name, or you can be anonymous and just in the audio. It's completely up to you. All you have to do is send us an email at pantalkpod@gmail.com. We would love to hear your story, so please do come on. Whatever your gender orientation is, just come on. We'd like to hear your story.
Yes.
So, thank you all for listening and watching. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Pan Talk podcast. Don't forget to rate, like, comment, and subscribe wherever your ears absorb our content. And remember, if you're interested in being a Pan Talk guest, you can email us at pantalkpod@gmail.com. Until next time, my beautiful humans, have a fantastic day.